The Blue Hole in Belize, one of the most famous underwater sinkholes in the world, is a place of breathtaking beauty and deep mystery. Located off the coast of the Belize Barrier Reef, this massive circular hole stretches over 1,000 feet, 305 meters, in diameter, and plunges down more than 400 feet, 120 meters, into the abyss. It is often referred to as one of the world's top dive sites, attracting scuba divers and adventurers from around the globe. The allure of the Blue Hole is undeniable. It's a natural wonder that offers divers a chance to explore pristine coral formations, swim alongside exotic sea creatures, and experience a unique ecosystem that is both mesmerizing and, at times, terrifying. The Blue Hole's formation is as fascinating as the stories that surround it. The sinkhole was created during the last ice age, around 10,000 to 15,000 years ago, when sea levels were much lower. It began as a limestone cave, formed over millions of years by natural processes, including the gradual erosion of the rock. As the ice caps melted and sea levels rose, the cave collapsed and filled with water, creating the vast underwater hole we see today. The Blue Hole's waters are incredibly clear, providing perfect conditions for divers to explore its unique geological formations, including stalactites and stalagmites that once hung from the cave ceiling. The hole is surrounded by a coral reef, making it a rich environment for marine life. Sharks, stingrays, and various species of fish call the Blue Hole home, making it a magnet for divers seeking the thrill of exploring a world that feels both ancient and otherworldly. Despite its natural beauty, the Blue Hole has long been surrounded by mystery and superstition. The vast expanse of water seems to draw divers into its depths, where strange things sometimes happen. One of the most chilling aspects of the Blue Hole is its eerie, almost unnatural quietness. Unlike other dive sites where the sounds of marine life or the hum of currents can be heard, the Blue Hole is often eerily silent. This silence, combined with the deep, dark waters, creates an atmosphere of unease that some divers find unsettling. In modern times, the mysterious aura of the Blue Hole has only grown stronger. Rumors abound of divers who have gone missing without a trace, leaving behind only unanswered questions. Some believe that the Blue Hole is home to dangerous underwater creatures, or that the currents can pull unsuspecting divers to a point of no return. The fact that so many divers have experienced disorientation or panic while diving in the Blue Hole only adds to its reputation as a place of danger and mystery. One of the most well-known and chilling incidents to occur at the Blue Hole took place in 1971. A renowned marine biologist, Sylvia Earle, was part of a scientific research team exploring the Blue Hole as part of a broader mission to study the marine environment and geology of Belize's underwater ecosystems. Sylvia, who would later become one of the most famous oceanographers of her time, had a wealth of experience diving in some of the most challenging underwater environments across the globe. She and her colleagues embarked on what was supposed to be a routine dive into the Blue Hole, a site known for its strikingly clear waters and rich marine life. However, as the dive progressed, the team quickly encountered unexpected conditions that would make this dive anything but routine. Despite the initial excitement, the divers began to experience strange and unpredictable currents, which made navigating the depths far more difficult than anticipated. As Sylvia descended further into the hole, she noted that the visibility, which had been exceptional at first, began to diminish. The eerie stillness of the water, usually a hallmark of such a deep dive, grew even more pronounced, making the team feel increasingly disconnected from the surface above. In this vast underwater void, Sylvia began to feel an overwhelming sense of dread that she couldn't easily explain. There was a sensation that something was lurking in the depths, something unseen, but deeply present. For Sylvia, this sensation wasn't just about the natural challenges of diving in such an unpredictable environment. It was the creeping feeling of being watched or stalked by an unknown presence, a chilling perception that even the most seasoned divers rarely experience. This unsettling feeling of paranoia seemed to linger throughout the dive, and it was shared by some of her colleagues as well, each describing a sense of isolation and disquiet that intensified with every passing minute. Though Sylvia's dive was completed safely without any physical incident, the psychological toll of the experience left her with a deep and lingering sense of unease. It wasn't the strong currents or the occasional disorientation that disturbed her. It was the unshakable sensation that something within the Blue Hole was fundamentally wrong. There was an overwhelming sense that the water, while beautiful and awe-inspiring, was hiding a darker truth, something not immediately apparent to the human eye. The unsettling quiet, often described by divers as one of the blue hole's defining features, was particularly striking during this dive. Unlike the typical hum of underwater currents or the distant sounds of marine life that accompany most dives, the blue hole seemed unnaturally silent. That silence, combined with the strange visibility issues, made Sylvia feel as though she were suspended in an otherworldly, almost supernatural space, disconnected from reality and the world above. In interviews following the dive, Earl admitted that she struggled to fully articulate the unease she had felt. While the physical challenges of the dive were manageable, the emotional and psychological impact was far more difficult to put into words. The isolation that came with being in such a vast and open space, surrounded by the immense depths of the hole, was disorienting. The sense of anxiety was compounded by the seemingly unfathomable size of the blue hole, and the eerie sense that something unseen might be present, watching the divers. Even experienced divers like Sylvia, who had explored numerous underwater sites around the world, found themselves out of their element in the blue hole. There was something about the place that felt fundamentally different, something that no amount of preparation could prepare a diver for. For Sylvia, it served as a stark reminder that the blue hole was not just a marvel of nature, but also a reminder of the raw power and mystery of the underwater world. The experience became a lasting lesson for her. The blue hole was not only a place of natural beauty, but a place that could unsettle even the most well-prepared and seasoned experts. Some of Sylvia's colleagues, who were also part of the research team, shared similar feelings of anxiety and discomfort during the dive. They too reported a creeping sense of isolation, as though they were alone in a place that defied the natural order of things. The vast empty water column surrounding them seemed to close in as the dive went on, and many felt a strong desire to return to the surface, a feeling that had not been present in their previous dives. This shared experience only deepened the mystery of the blue hole, sparking discussions about its potential to evoke such strong emotional responses from even the most seasoned professionals. The deeper the team ventured, the more they realized that there was something almost otherworldly about the blue hole, a place where the geography and atmosphere could provoke powerful psychological reactions. For Sylvia, the 1971 dive into the blue hole was a vivid reminder of how the natural world could elicit profound fear and awe. Despite the dive being completed without incident, the psychological toll it took on her and her colleagues marked it as an experience that would linger in their minds for years to come. The dive reinforced the idea that, while the blue hole may be a site of exceptional natural beauty, it is also a reminder of the depths of the ocean that are still largely unexplored, mysterious, and perhaps even unsettling. What was supposed to be a scientific exploration of one of the world's most famous dive sites had become, for Sylvia and her team, a haunting encounter with the unknown. An encounter that would forever shape their perception of the blue hole and its enigmatic allure. Whether the blue hole is simply a dangerous dive site or a place where deeper, unexplainable forces are at work remains an open question. Yuba City is a small town in Northern California, about 40 miles north of Sacramento. The area is known for its quiet, rural nature and is surrounded by several lakes and rivers. Brad Turner, an experienced diver, was part of a group of 4 divers who had planned the dive to explore deeper parts of the lake. The team was well prepared, with all the necessary equipment to dive safely. They had communicated their plans to family members and friends, and everything appeared to be going according to schedule. The divers entered the water, and the group descended to explore the underwater world. At some point during the dive, something went wrong. After spending a few hours exploring the underwater terrain, the group resurfaced, but Brad Turner was nowhere to be found. At first, the others assumed Brad had surfaced earlier and was waiting at the shore. But when they reached the shore and called out for him, there was no sign of Turner. His equipment and gear were still in place, and his absence became increasingly puzzling. The remaining divers immediately began searching for Turner in the lake. They called out his name and the search area expanded, but no trace of him could be found. They quickly realized something was wrong, and the group contacted local authorities to report the disappearance. A search and rescue operation was launched, and divers from the area joined the efforts to locate Turner. They scoured the lake, using sonar equipment and underwater cameras, but for days, there was no sign of him. As the search for Brad Turner stretched into days, then weeks, the mystery surrounding his disappearance only deepened. The more the authorities and search teams scoured the area, the more puzzling his absence became. Turner had been an experienced diver, well-versed in the techniques needed for safe diving. His dive equipment had been carefully checked and was found to be in good working condition, which left investigators scratching their heads. There was no obvious indication of a malfunction in his air supply, diving mask, or buoyancy control. Given his experience, the notion that something as simple as a malfunction had caused his disappearance seemed improbable. Turner had completed numerous dives before, and nothing suggested that this dive should have been different. The fact that Turner had disappeared in an area of the lake that was relatively shallow further complicated matters. It was an area the divers were familiar with, and the visibility in the water was reportedly good, which made it even more difficult to understand how Turner could have become separated from the group. There were no large underwater structures or dangerous features in that specific area where he had been diving, making it seem almost impossible for him to become trapped or lost. Yet, despite the extensive search efforts, no trace of Turner was found during the initial searches. As days passed, local authorities and search teams grew increasingly frustrated. The search expanded into a desperate race against time, but each passing day without answers only heightened the sense of uncertainty and fear. Turner's family, unable to make sense of the sudden and inexplicable loss, were left grasping at any shred of hope. They held on to the possibility that Turner might still be out there somewhere, alive and awaiting rescue, despite the mounting evidence to the contrary. In the absence of concrete clues, various theories began to surface. None of them, however, seemed to provide a satisfying explanation for his disappearance. Some speculated that it could have been a freak accident. Perhaps Turner had suffered some kind of sudden medical issue, like a heart attack or a stroke, while underwater. The lack of any visible injury or signs of trauma added fuel to this theory. If Turner had suffered such an event, it could have caused him to lose consciousness and drift away from the group without any of his diving companions noticing. This theory was supported by the fact that no one had seen him struggling or heard any distress signals. But then, the question arose. If Turner had fallen unconscious, why hadn't his diving equipment or the surrounding area shown any signs of distress? It was still unclear why he had not surfaced when expected, especially given the fact that the other divers had all made it back to the surface safely. Another theory that gained traction was the possibility of strong underwater currents. Some believed that Turner may have been swept away by a powerful, unpredictable current. While currents in the lake were not typically strong in the area where Turner had been diving, some divers had reported encountering unusual movements in the water, especially at deeper depths. If a sudden current had caught Turner off guard, it might explain why he became separated from the group and unable to return to the surface in time. However, this theory left many questions unanswered. If the current had been strong enough to pull Turner away from the dive site, why hadn't the other divers felt it or been affected by it? It seemed unlikely that such a force could have taken hold without affecting the group as a whole, or without leaving some trace of its presence. Despite these more plausible theories, there were whispers in the community that something more sinister might have been at play. Was there a possibility that Turner had encountered something underwater that caused his disappearance? Some speculated that he may have stumbled upon a hidden cave or an underwater feature that caused him to become disoriented or trapped. Others even suggested a more paranormal explanation, that there could be some sort of mysterious force lurking in the depths of the lake, an eerie presence that had claimed Turner for reasons unknown. While authorities largely dismissed this theory, it nonetheless lingered in the minds of some who felt that the case was simply too strange to be explained by mundane causes. The more the search continued, the more the town and those involved in the investigation became consumed by the mystery. The lake, once a peaceful retreat for divers and recreational boaters, had turned into a site of both fascination and fear. Each dive seemed to bring more questions than answers. Theories ranged from natural accidents to more speculative ideas about underwater phenomena, but all of them ultimately failed to provide a satisfactory explanation for what had happened to Brad Turner. With no clear leads or explanations, the case drifted into an unsettling silence, as if the lake itself was holding onto its secrets tightly, unwilling to reveal what had truly occurred beneath its tranquil surface. The longer Turner's body remained missing, the more elusive the truth seemed to become. What had truly happened that day? Was it a tragic accident, or was there something far darker at play beneath the surface of the water? Each theory, no matter how plausible, only served to create more confusion, as the search efforts began to feel increasingly futile. In the end, no answers would come quickly enough to alleviate the haunting uncertainty that gripped the people of Yuba City. The mystery of Brad Turner's disappearance, marked by its bizarre and inexplicable nature, became one of those cases that would continue to haunt the town for years to come. A story that would remain unresolved, lingering in the minds of those who had witnessed the search for answers. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.